Alright, so in this video we're going to be taking a look at that flambient method with Lighten Mode again, and we are going with the lights off method. I'm going to show you how to light every single area of the image to produce super clean, color accurate images without using any other light source except the flash. So what I like to do is I'm on the Panasonic GH5 Mark II with that Leiwa 7.5mm f2, and I'm at f4, and for this situation I think I had to bump my ISO up to like 400 or 500 depending. There wasn't a ton of natural light coming in, but I went with lights off, and we're running with one flash. I'm using that Godox V1. So I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to light each area in each part of the image, and then I'm going to show you how to simply blend them in Photoshop to produce a super nice evenly lit image. Let's go. Alright, so here we are in Lightroom, and here's our first ambient layer. I'm going to show you exactly what I do, and I created a first bump. This is basically just correcting for verticals, and again, these are just starting points when you create a preset. So I'm, like you see here, I'm adjusting my exposure a little bit just to make sure I'm just right of center up here with my histogram. And now I did have the dining room light on over here, but I'm actually going to override that, and I'm not going to use any of this orange color cast. And this is why I stress, I really encourage you, if your realtor will allow it, to do lights off. Just light the scene if you need light, and that's what we're going to do today. So again, this is for lens correction. I maybe bring up those shadows a little bit, and moving on to the next one. So alright, and so in this image was the flash pop above the camera. So those are the two images that you're going to take for every single situation, and then it just depends on the size of the room, or if there's other rooms off to the side that you're going to need to do multiple flash pops. But the two images that you're always going to do are your ambient layer and the flash pop above the camera. Sometimes that's going to be enough. In this case it wasn't, because we have a large room. We want to make sure we're evenly lighting it. So let's move on. Now if you notice how it's kind of dark here, this flash above the camera didn't quite reach back to here, even though it kind of looks like it did. We just want to make sure that it does, and we can have an even light distribution. So we do our flash pop here, and then we come over to this side and do a flash pop, and I'll show you how simple it is to merge those. And then we go into this dining room right here, and we do a flash pop over there. So I'm just going to click on the last one and then hold down shift, click on this one to highlight them all, and we're going to right click and edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. So once all your layers have been loaded into Photoshop, remember the first thing you're going to want to do, besides aligning your layers, which I will show you how to do that right now, we're just going to select them all. All I did was click on the top one and come down to the bottom one, holding shift and click on the bottom one. That'll select all of those for you. Come up to edit, auto align, and then hit OK, just making sure auto is selected right there. Okay, and now once all your layers have been aligned, now we're going to come back up to the top, select your ambient layer, and just turn it off right now by clicking this little eyeball on the left side of the image. And now this is our flash above the camera. We can turn that off, and now we have to work on these two images by blending them together to make it one image, and that'll be just make it simpler to blend the rest of these together. So we're going to click on the top one, just do a layer mask, Command I to invert, get our gradient tool, and if you can see where the hot spots on the flash on the ceiling were, you just want to start somewhere in the front here and drag over right before you get to where you were standing in the other image and let off, and it'll do a decent blend job there. So now we can hold down Command and select the bottom layer right here, these two, and we're just going to right click and then merge layers. So that'll just group those two into one layer like that. So now we can turn on the flash layer above the camera, make sure it's selected, come up here and then turn your mode to Lighten Mode. And now if we toggle that on and off, now that just lightens up the foreground. Now if it's a little bit too bright, what you can do is just drop the opacity, play around with that, making sure that you got a nice even blend. So somewhere like 75% looks good. Sometimes you won't have to do that at all, but if it does seem like it's too bright, just play with the opacity a little bit and that'll help that out. Alright, so now what we need to do is take that dining room shot and let's bring that up to the top just underneath the ambient layer right now, and all you gotta do is turn that to Lighten Mode. And now if we toggle that on and off, look at that, all it did was give us it masked out everything but the brightest part of the image. That's why now running without the flash on top of the camera is actually not only faster, but works so much better, because you really don't need that extra light above the camera. We're just using Lighten Mode to blend all these images together. So right there looks like a really nicely blended image. And again, say you didn't have any natural light coming in, you could light an entire space like this without any natural light, because this is our ambient layer. It's not very good, but what we can do is, in this case, because this had gray and white is basically the primary colors in there, and we don't have any hardwoods that are going to be affected by that luminosity mode, I use luminosity mode for this. And look at that, it just cleans up all the color casting from that light that got left on. Normally I would not have turned on that dining room light, but it ended up getting left on. So now we can take the opacity of the ambient layer and just drop that to 50% or so. So if we toggle that off, see how it just it brings back in just enough ambient light to make it not look so flashy and overproduced. So that is it, folks. That's all we need to do. So let's right click and then come down here to flatten image. I'm going to Command S to save it, and it brings it right back into Lightroom for us. And now we can do our interior final bump. Bring that exposure back down a little bit. This Leiwa lens just has a little bit of vignetting, so when you crush those blacks, it starts to vignette too much for me. And we can take when you align layers, don't forget, in post, you're going to have to make sure you crop out those other layers. We can shift this over a little bit just to show the wall. And make sure we're aligned right. And there we go. Alright, there's the first image. Super clean and crisp, even lighting throughout. Let's move on. Here's another shot that I really love to demonstrate the simplicity and the huge advantage that using Lighten Mode has, okay? So here's a kitchen with like a laundry room off to the side of it. Again, lights are off, completely off, and I've already done my initial bump, so we don't have to go through that. But we're going to do the ambient shot, and then we're going to do one flash pop above the camera, and then we're going to come into the other room. Now, I went around this corner, and I'm glad I did. So I run with the app on my cell phone, so when I'm around that corner, I can review that image really quickly and decide whether or not I like it, or I need to increase my flash power, or move to the other side to test it. Because the thing that I didn't like was it wasn't giving me enough light on this wall. So if we look back at our ambient layer, there wasn't just enough light hitting right here within this doorway. So what I did was, this was my initial shot, so I just moved over to this side, and see how that light is hitting that wall now? So I thought, and I'm not even in the shot, and there's just a subtle hot spot on the ceiling right there, but I thought, you know what, that's blended really well, so that's all I'm gonna need. So we're gonna take that one, plus our flash above the camera shot, and then our ambient shot, and bring those into Photoshop now. Alright, and I'm going to show you a really cool method. This, using Lighten Mode, we don't even need to brush anything. We don't even need to do anything. It's just a matter of turning different layers into Lighten Mode. So let's get rid of the ambient layer for now. Let's bring up, just underneath the ambient layer, that room. Now watch, if we turn this to Lighten Mode, it blends those two together. Look, if I just toggle that on and off, it's just like hitting the switch on that layer, and it's not affecting our flash layer at all. So now we can bring that ambient layer back in, and let's change it to luminosity, and now we can drop that to about 50%. But look at that, just by doing that just gives us enough ambient light to get rid of that hot flash. So really the flash above the camera probably didn't need to be as hot as it was, but with the ambient layer we can tone that down a little bit, and there you go. I am done with this. Look at how fast that was. And we can just flatten the image, Command S to save it, right back into Lightroom, do our interior final bump, and there you go. Look at how super clean and evenly lit that is without any work except just changing normal mode into Lighten Mode and dropping that ambient layer to 50%. Most times that can be the case, and you can be done with them and moving on, and that's how it's going to speed up your workflow. So remember, leave me a comment if you have any questions or other helpful tips for us here in YouTubeville. I answer every single comment. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.